Welcome to F101 with Friends, your pit stop for all things Formula One. Whether you're here for the stats, the memes, or just figuring out what a chicane is, we've got you covered. Buckle up, because the fun starts right now. Hi everyone, my name is Nisha, a newbie F1 girlie who is desperate to make more friends so that I can talk about this sport all the time. Each week, a new guest will join me on this journey, from seasoned F1 fans to other curious newcomers, and we will explore what it is about this million-dollar sport at gravity-defying speeds that we just can't stop watching. We'll try to break it all down in a way that's fun, relatable, and hopefully try to explain some of the tech talk. Ask a child to draw a car, and certainly he will draw it red. The famous words of Enzo Ferrari still ring true today. This brand is the reason why when we talk about sports cars or any kind of racing, the car is always red. They have a legacy so strong that every driver in F1 has always wanted to drive for them. Of course, I am talking about Ferrari. The fans, the tifosi, are one of the most passionate people in the world. And to do this episode any justice, I absolutely have to have a crazy tifosa and the person who bullied me into this obsession. Aswathy, how are you? Welcome to the pod.
I am good, man. What a day to be alive. The day we finally do a podcast and have me in it.
Yes, it's been pending for a while. I did want to have you on the first episode, but it just made more sense to have you on this one where you can speak a lot more passionately. So, just so our listeners can get to know you better, Ashwati, what got you into F1?
The year was 2020. I think it was a healthy mix of just the pandemic, boredom, and a solid existential crisis. I turned on DTS because I had nothing else to watch. And honestly, it was Daniel Ricciardo. He was just so personable and so interesting, and I knew nothing about the sport, but you can't help but root for the guy and just be invested in his success. It was a bad year to watch DTS and Daniel Ricciardo,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what got me in, and I was hooked.
Man, it was actually really nice to see the like Drive to Survive now and see the whole arc come together. I felt sad for him. Like,
We all do.
yeah, we miss him. But of course, you saw Daniel Ricciardo, but for some reason you got stuck on the red car.
Yeah, I mean, it was Daniel Ricciardo, and then I saw Ferrari, and of course, you know Ferrari, you've heard Ferrari. Ferrari is everything when it comes to racing and cars in general. But in Ferrari, contrary to popular opinion and just people in general, it was not Charles Leclerc, it was Carlos Sainz. I loved the man and the brain and just the way he went about races. And that's truly what Ferrari means to me, right? Passion plus strategy equaling just Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz, yes. I thought you were gonna say strategy for Ferrari. I was gonna ding you on that later.
Carlos basically carried 50% of Ferrari strategy. So,
55%.
oh yeah, oh man, that's a better line.
If you were at a dinner party with all of your favorite F1 drivers, what would you say?
So I like Max and Oscar and Lando, and I like a bunch of drivers. They all have their things, but obviously my favorite is Carlos Sainz. What is the rest of his?
Carlos Sainz, Vasco de Castro, Cinema Rincon.
Oh man, yes. So I can't just walk up to them and be like, "Oh, my name is Ashwati. I'm a huge fan." They used to it. They used to people gushing over them. So I'm gonna take my time in this dinner party, just relax, have a few drinks, then I'm gonna challenge them all to a Mario Kart race. Think that would be fun, and then we can set up a Mario Kart date. That's a plan, and that
I like it. I like it. I do feel like Max is gonna beat you though because
doesn't matter.
that man spends so much time on simulator and on like actual racing. But that would be a fun date with all of the drivers, and they would have fun too, right? Right? They like racing.
Something they would remember me for, like they would remember my name. That's the plan.
Yes, yes. As Aswathy has amply shown us, Ferrari fans don't just support a team, they commit their souls to it. But we need to start with the man behind their name. Their founder, Enzo Ferrari, knew that he wanted to race since he was 10 years old. During the 1920s, he worked for Alfa Romeo, both as a driver in various local races and as an employee in the Milan sales depot. Before the end of the decade, he had founded and managed his own racing team based in Modena, Italy, which he named Scuderia Ferrari. When they started, they used the hand me downs from Alfa Romeo, and my god, how the tides have turned now. Ferrari did well in the championships that they took part in, and during this period, the prancing horse emblem appeared on the team cars.
World War One brought some problems. In order to avoid the Allied bombing in Italy, Ferrari moved his factory from Modena to Maranello in 1943. Though the new plant was still bombed twice, Ferrari is in Maranello to this day. At this point, they're not really making cars, but they were in the manufacturing business. World War II, however, was good for Ferrari. There was an increase in military contracts. It allowed the company to raise a lot of capital for post war automotive production. The first Ferrari sports car that used an updated V12 engine was the 1947 125S. When the car first debuted, Enzo Ferrari famously declared that it was a promising failure. Out of the 10 races the car entered, it won 6. Ferrari got so many victories that it became synonymous with racing. And the more they won, of course, the more cars they sold, and it was a lot.
In 1952, Ferrari won its first Formula One season and proceeded to win 3 more within the decade. But it wasn't always a beautiful picture in red. Unfortunately, Enzo had some blood on his hands. Alberto Ascari was killed behind the wheel of a Ferrari in 1955. If you had the unfortunate displeasure of watching the Ferrari movie with Adam Driver, you would have seen the 1957 Mille Miglia when Alfonso Di Portago lost control and crashed into a row of people, killing 9 of them. At the 1961 Italian Grand Prix, driver Von Trips found himself flying into the crowd after misjudging a banked corner, killing 15 spectators in the process. Apparently, through all these cases, Enzo appeared more interested in his cars than in his people. He was telling his team to, salvage spare parts for those remains. I guess when you demand that level of perfection, you tend to be a little bit ruthless. So I've heard this quote from Max Verstappen, but apparently Enzo Ferrari has been attributed to this, and he said second place is the first loser.
That is cold, but totally in line with his character.
Yeah, it's in line with Max's character as well. But I get that this would come from someone like Enzo Ferrari.
I mean, there's also a movie, one of my favorites, obviously for obvious reasons, is Ford versus Ferrari. Uh, no spoilers, but Enzo basically wanted to focus on racing and he was trying to work out a deal with Ford to take care of the manufacturing part. The talks did not work out for various reasons, and both companies went to war at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Le Mans is an endurance championship where instead of changing parts in the car at a pit stop, you change drivers. It is very prestigious, and you get to see basically how you can push the car and how far it can go while racing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of the F1 drivers go and watch Le Mans as well. It's 24 hours, so they can hop in whenever they want. But there is one funny thing about Le Mans that I have to talk about is when they have commentators as well, right? And when it gets closer to the night, the commentators kind of lose their mind because they've been doing this for so long.
Just having a full blown discussion at 2 a.m. with your bros.
Yeah, exactly. Enzo Ferrari, known as Il Commendatore, never wanted to build a car company. He started selling cars so he can fund his race team. More money means more speed, and Enzo poured all the profits from selling cars into building a better race team. The car sales grew as Ferrari became more successful on the track, which meant more money that can be put into the race team, which meant more success on track. Ferrari's marketing tool is their race team.
And like you said with Enzo Ferrari, he was ruthless. His management style was autocratic, he ruled with an iron fist, and he was known to pit drivers against each other in the hope of improving their performance. Wins were the only thing that mattered, the car was the only thing that mattered, and Ferrari deliberately increased pressure on the drivers, encouraging intra team rivalries and fostering an atmosphere of intense competition where you had a number one driver who received preferential treatment and the whole goal was to get there. We saw some bits of this in Drive to Survive and also in all these years. I'm very curious to see how this pans out with the new driver team and this new dynamic because both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc are number one drivers in their own sense. So
Yep.
I want to see how this pans out right now.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. We did see it like in Drive to Survive. They did show like Carlos pitted against Charles a lot. I mean, okay, fine. Vettel against Charles. Charles almost seemed to have the entire situation under control, but he was more evenly matched when it came to Carlos.
I think last year they had like the closest, like
Yeah.
in terms of comparison, the numbers and stats, they were the closest. Not even the McLaren team, they came that close, I guess.
No, no. They were very equally matched. Just like now Ferrari has two sons. Enzo also had two sons. How do you like my transition?
Smooth,
So,
smooth operation.
so Enzo had two sons. One is Alfredo Dino, who from his wife. He was born in 1932 and was groomed to be Enzo's successor, but he suffered from ill health and died from muscular dystrophy in 1956. The track at Imola is named after his son. Enzo had a second son, Piero, with his mistress. This was in 1945.
Scandalous.
Divorce was illegal in Italy until 1970, so Piero could only be recognized as Enzo's son after his wife's death in 1978. As of 2023, Piero is the vice chairman of the company and he owns 10% share of it. Enzo Ferrari died on 14th August 1988 in Maranello at the age of 90 of leukemia. However, the legacy of the prancing horses continues.
It would have been interesting if he was alive right now, just seeing all the pit wall calls and seeing what is happening with the cars.
Oh my god.
There should be a movie where Enzo's ghost.
Enzo's ghost is haunting that garage.
So right now, Scuderia Ferrari has the team principal Frederick Vasseur. He's bringing a lot of change and stability, and also just a clear direction to the team, which is, as a Ferrari fan, a breath of fresh air in comparison to his predecessor, who I refuse to name.
He's back on the grid, you know.
I don't want to know. I've blocked that memory from my head. I'm not going to just ignore him. He's not my problem anymore. And with Visser, he has long relationships with both drivers, and he's hilarious, right? He's funny. We've all seen the reels. He's the guy spraying people with a water gun, bombing McLaren photographs, and just being the school uncle
Yes.
on the paddock. But he is very deceiving. If you look at him, he's very chill. He's also short, which is something like people make fun of him for, but he's super smart and he's completely changed the way Ferrari functions. And we're starting to see it. Hopefully, 2026, we will fully see how the changes he's made come into effect with the new car and new regulations. So it's pretty exciting time to be a Ferrari fan.
Ferrari is the only team that's been in F1 since the very first season in 1950. So, if we have to talk about their entire history, this podcast would be 400 hours long. Instead, we will focus on their biggest wins, their most painful losses, and the bitter rivalries. You cannot talk about Ferrari's glorious moments without talking about Michael Schumacher's golden era from 2000 to 2004. Ferrari was going through a period of absolute failure. Drivers like Alain Prost had called the car a truck, Niki Lauda called it a pig. The performance of their crew was a running joke. Enter Michael Schumacher and technical mastermind Ross Brawn, who led the team to 5 consecutive world titles from 2000 to 2004. It wasn't the car. It was the driver who drove it on the absolute edge where that car could perform perfectly. The biggest highlights: 2000, the Japanese GP. After a 21-year drought, Schumacher finally secured Ferrari's first Drivers' Championship since Jody Scheckter in 1979. His tears on the podium told the story of how much it meant to Ferrari and its crazy fans. 2004, Schumacher crushed the competition, winning 13 out of 18 races, securing the title by July and proving Ferrari's absolute dominance.
After Schumacher's retirement in 2006, Ferrari needed a new leader, somebody to drive the team. Enter Kimi Raikkonen, who went into the final round of 2007 trailing Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso. Somehow, against all odds, he snatched the title by a single point in Brazil, making Ferrari's last Drivers' Championship win. As of 2024, we still have hope for 2025. You can also pay for all my therapy.
Ferrari fans have the largest can of hopium just sitting there every this year will be your year.
100%, because what is the alternative? This year is not our year. Why the hell am I waking up at 4 a.m. and watching all the races? 2025, Charles Leclerc, come on, please, I beg you.
For all of their triumphs, though, Ferrari has a history of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Tell me about it.
I mean, 2024, 14 points from McLaren. 14.
Yes.
2008, the Brazilian GP, Ferrari's Felipe Massa dominated his home race and he was world champion for about 30 seconds. In the final corner of the last lap, Lewis Hamilton made a stellar overtake for more points, stealing the title. The Massa family's celebration turned into heartbreak on live TV, making it one of the most painful moments in F1 history. Remember this though, because Massa is currently contesting this title and we will hear about it in October of this year.
There's also this, the famous Alonso stare. How can we can't forget about that? I think the year was 2012. This Brazilian GP, the last race of the season. Ferrari used one of their wonderful, wonderful strategies to pit Alonso. Yes,
Plan Q.
Plan D. To pit Alonso early, and he got stuck behind the cars, and it allowed Sebastian Vettel to steal the championship, which was rightfully ours. Ferrari's pit wall, obviously, like always, had no answers. Thankfully, there was no "we are checking" at that point of time. This is was an iconic moment in history. There's also an image of Alonso just still in his helmet, staring into the 1,000-mile distance. Uh, like super heartbreaking, something sports fans can never forget. He didn't know it then, but that was the last time he would be the world championship. And I don't see Alonso and Aston Martin driving that truck to the world championship, but so this is like super heartbreaking in retrospect. Uh, though later Alonso clarified that he didn't know what he was staring at. He was just looking at his teammate crying and didn't know why, but it was a super difficult moment for Ferrari fans and just for Alonso.
2017 and 2018 was just Ferrari versus themselves. They had a car capable of beating Mercedes in these years, but a combination of driver errors, strategy blunders, and a lot of internal politics cost them both championships. Bernie Collins was on this other podcast and she was talking about the Ferrari and the kind of structure and hierarchy that they have. So, up until Vasseur came in, it would be very like nobody was willing to take decisions, right? Because if you took a wrong decision, it would be your head, like you would be fired. And we saw that happening with Binotto, right?
Even with the team radios and the pit wall, they didn't have they would always just say we are checking because they can't make those decisions, right? It was like a government office.
Exactly. But apparently Vasseur is changing all of that and he's allowing people to be more like, it's okay, you can make a decision. No decision is like completely wrong or completely right. We will figure out a way to work around it. So I do see a lot of changes. I haven't heard we are checking in a very long time.
We are checking is my nightmare.
Ferrari also has a history of teammates turning into enemies and spectacular fallouts from the drivers. In 1982, we had Gilles Villeneuve versus Didier Pironi, one of F1's most tragic feuds. After Pironi's betrayal at Imola, Villeneuve vowed never to speak to him again. Unfortunately, just 2 weeks later, Villeneuve died pushing too hard in qualifying at Zolder, determined to beat his teammate.
Then there was the Prost versus Ferrari controversy in 1991, also known as the truck controversy. Alain Prost, already a three-time world champion, joined Ferrari in hopes for the fourth championship. But after a disastrous 1991 season, Prost very publicly called Ferrari's car a truck, leading to him being fired before the season ended. I mean, it's not a lie, but
But don't say it out loud.
yes.
Then you have Schumacher versus Barrichello in 2002. At the 2002 Austrian Grand Prix, Rubens Barrichello was forced to give up a win for Schumacher at the last second, leading to one of the most awkward podiums in F1 history. The backlash was so bad and it contributed to team orders being questioned. And this keeps happening, but we still have papaya rules, so clearly we never learn.
We also have the Leclerc versus Vettel 2019 rivalry, which is super popular. Here we have a new rising star and an, I don't want to say old because that would be an insult to Vettel, but like seasoned champion. So when young Charles Leclerc joined Ferrari in 2019, he refused to play second fiddle to Sebastian Vettel. The tension peaked in Brazil. Why Brazil always?
Right? It's almost always
Yeah.
Brazil. Ferrari is not happy in Brazil.
Yes. So it peaked in Brazil, the two collided and took each other out, signaling the beginning of the end for Vettel at Ferrari. Apparently, this race, and I'm very happy about it, was the reason Sainz had the opportunity to wear red for 4 years.
Well, I'm happy for science. I do feel bad for Vettel, but like that's the thing with the allure of Ferrari, right? Everybody wants to wear that red and drive it at least once.
It's not just Ferrari, it's just how F1 works, right? You just have 20 top drivers and it's so tough. And it's so easy to you move on to the next person. Even though there's people like Lance Stroll who's stuck there forever.
I was just gonna say.
It pisses me off.
How can you say that, Ashwati? You're in Canada, no? You have to support him.
If I ever go to the Montreal GP, I'm not even going to sit on the Lance Stroll grandstand. I will stand somewhere and watch.
What if it's the best grandstand?
Doesn't matter. I will figure something out.
We do have to talk about Ferrari's drivers. So let's do this in age order. We'll start with Charles Marc Hervé Percival Leclerc.
Sounds like some Harry Potter spell name.
He loves Harry Potter. He would be very happy with that. Charles was born on October 16th, 1997 in Monte Carlo, Monaco. Literally growing up surrounded by the most famous F1 circuit in the world. The crown jewel of F1. But unlike many Monegasque kids, his family wasn't ultra rich. His father, Hervé Leclerc, was a former racer who competed in Formula 3. His mother, Pascale, owns a hair salon in Monaco and has apparently cut the hair of many former F1 drivers, including David Coulthard.
Also present F1 drivers. She gave Oscar a haircut, right?
She did. Yeah, that's right. Charles is a middle child with one older brother, Lorenzo, and a younger, Arthur. Arthur also races, and until recently he was in F2 and now he's a Ferrari development driver. Last year, he was even part of one of the practice sessions, both brothers on track, which made about 8,000 Monegasques very happy.
8,000 Monegasques and one me.
Yeah, one you, exactly. As a kid, Charles had told his father one day that he wasn't feeling very well so that he could skip school. His father took him to a kart track, and when he got home, Charles decided that that's what he was going to do for the rest of his life. His big break came thanks to Jules Bianchi, a talented F1 driver part of the Ferrari Academy, who was almost like an older brother to him. Jules' father owned a karting track where Leclerc trained, and Jules personally mentored him. Sadly, he passed away in 2015, right as Charles won GP3 or F3 in his rookie season.
And by age 14, Leclerc was already winning major karting titles, including the 2013 World Karting Championship. His raw speed caught the eye of Nicholas Todd, son of former Ferrari boss Jean Todt, who then became his manager and decided to help him climb the ranks of motorsport. In 2017, he was the F2 champion, again won in his rookie year with Prema Racing. He dominated the field with 7 wins. His pole lap in Baku, actually, in that year, remains one of his most emotional moments in racing because he had just lost his father a few days before. In fact, before he died, Charles lied to him and told him that he had an F1 contract. I mean, if ever to lie, that was the one because even though he felt immense guilt, it turned out to be true just within a few months. Later, Leclerc joined Sauber, now Stake F1 or whatever the new name is, in 2018 as a part of Ferrari's junior program. The team was struggling, but the man dragged that car into the points multiple times, even finishing sixth, I think, in Azerbaijan. His performances were just so strong that Ferrari fast tracked him to replace Kimi Raikkonen in 2019.
There is something about Charles and losing people in his life, leading to huge milestones in his career. In 2019, just a day after his close friend Antoine Hubert tragically passed away, Leclerc put in an emotional masterclass at Spa, securing his first career victory. That same year, under immense pressure, he held off both Mercedes to win in Ferrari's home race in Monza. His aggressive driving versus Lewis Hamilton was absolutely legendary, and the Tifosi treated him like a god because he had ended Ferrari's 9-year winless streak at Monza. This is the year that we get the iconic dialogue from David Croft. He won in Spa, he wins in Monza.
And I still get goosebumps every time I hear it.
Last year, of course, we saw his historic home win in Monaco and in Monza, which was just beyond special. So we can see why the Italians call him Il Predestinato.
In Monza or like Italy in general, there's Jesus and then there's Charles Leclerc. So
Yeah, I've seen the memes. But it is true. They do, like, honestly, I know that as a Tifosa, you will definitely want to go see Monza.
yes,
But I see that crowd and all of my like phobias come together. That is one place I would definitely avoid.
like even I'm not a big fan of crowds. Like I hate the mall, even the mall. But Monza, just the environment of being part of this team that I love being with people who love this team so much, irrespective of what the race, how the race goes, or what the results are. It feels like a once in a lifetime experience. Feels like something I should. So let's book tickets to Italy.
I'm not coming. I'm not mental.
You can wear your Yuki Tsunoda t-shirt.
Oh my god. If Yuki is still there.
He will be. Unless he starts a restaurant in Japan or something.
Then in that case, I'm going to Japan. Bye. So there are some defining reasons to support Leclerc. And you can see most of it in the Drive to Survive episode, Liquors of Leclerc. But why don't you highlight some of like the best things about him, and I'll support you with some memes if I can.
Okay, let's do this. So firstly, he has a super aggressive racing style. He's fearless on the overtakes and he takes huge risks. He puts everything out there. There's nothing left behind. He gives it all, pushes the car to the very limit. And when these risks sometimes fail, he tends to be very hard on himself.
Yes, in Baku in 2019 during qualifying, when he crashed into that piece of the castle, and you can hear him go, I am stupid, I am stupid, I switch off everything.
The number of memes that are there on that one. It's okay, Charles. I get it. It's an emotional roller coaster with him, right? Nobody sounds more heartbroken on team radio when something goes wrong. As a Ferrari fan, like when I say it, I'm like, it's okay. When I feel like saying it's okay next time.
Yeah, I remember in Vegas last year when he was pushing and Carlos was right behind. We get another very emotional like moment from him on the radio.
Yeah, I did my job, but it's being nice, takes me over all the time. It's not even being nice, it's just being respectful. I know I need to shut up, but at one point it's always the same, so... Oh my fucking god.
I have no comments on that one. I played the fifth. Also, Charles, you have to give it to the man, he never gives up. Despite Ferrari's issues, the car, the strategy, the team principle, and just everything, he still fights every race like it's for the title.
There's this one clip that plays a lot, and even in the Drive to Survive episode, it comes out a lot. It's in 2022 when he was leading in Monaco, and Ferrari messed up the pit stop by double stacking, but like without even checking that. Actually, they didn't mean to double stack. They called him in, and then they looked down and saw that Carlos is oof.
How that happens is
Right? It is beyond me. But yeah, you can hear his like previous engineer Javi go, box now, stay out. But it's like too late. He's already inside the pit box.
you know that viral reel where if you don't pay a therapist bill, they play your like worst memory or something like that. They should play that for me.
Oh my god.
Just like I watched this live, and I'm just like, what is even going on? Absolute clowns. Charles is also a complete qualifying beast. He has 26 pole positions and counting. Even when he has the weaker car, or even if it's not like an ideal condition, he's there. He's on top.
He does have crazy one lap pace, and it's going to be interesting to see him against Lewis, who historically, great qualifier, hasn't been doing so well with Mercedes. But like Lewis on a Sunday, unbeatable. Charles on a Sunday can be questionable at times.
I don't entirely agree, but we will proceed.
But I do have to say that he's been a racer from the very, very beginning. There is this one video that I must ask everyone to look up, and it's the video that started this meme journey for me for F1, right? It's of Charles and Max as kids in karting, where they had a bit of a squabble on track. In the post-race interview, the interviewer goes up to Max and says, Max, what's happened? And Max like clarifies, I was trying to pass, and then Charles pushed me off the track. And so the interviewer goes to Charles and says,
What's happened with Max?
Nothing, just an incident on the race.
So cute.
he was quite cute. Max still uses incident, by the way. Some off-track fun facts about Charles. He has an adorable golden dachshund named Leo, who sometimes steals the spotlight in his social media posts, along with Charles' partner, Alexandra. Yes.
He also recently launched his own healthy ice cream brand, Lec, in Monaco and Italy. If you're in Europe, please try and let me know what you think. I heard it's super expensive and not worth it, but as a true fan, if I ever get the chance, I will take one for the team, taste it, and let you know how it is.
Charles is also a talented pianist, and he dropped a couple of piano tracks on Spotify, which went viral. His songs Aus 23, inspired by the Australian GP, even hit number 1 on the iTunes classical charts. They are nice, I guess. I liked the Ferrari one, the one where the dream continues.
Yeah.
That one was decent. It's playing in the background right now.
But you know what he's not talented at? Literally any other sport. I have never seen a more unathletic looking Puma ambassador. Like football, surfing, padel, you name it, and there are pictures of him falling on his face as he attempts to do any other sports beside car racing.
Yeah, it's so strange. He's supposed to be like super athletic. I don't understand what happens when he tries anything else. And he likes football.
Hey, he's my driver. I can make fun of him. You can't.
Fine. Let's move on to the next driver for Ferrari. Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton was born on Jan 7th, 1985 in England to a working class family. His father, Anthony Hamilton, worked multiple jobs, sometimes as many as 3 at a time to support Lewis's karting career. Lewis has said that he owes a lot to his dad, who even helped him improve his racecraft by pushing him to brake later on the track. He has a younger half brother, Nicholas Hamilton, who is also a racing driver.
A lot of F1 drivers come from wealthy backgrounds, and that sort of paves the way to the career. And you also need a lot of money to get into the sport. But Lewis's path to motorsport wasn't easy. He got his first go kart at 8 years old, and within 2 years, he was already winning races. At 10, he won the British Karting Championship, and he famously walked up to McLaren boss Ron Dennis at an awards dinner and just said, "One day, I want to race for you." Dennis then wrote in his autographed book, apparently, "Phone me in 9 years."
Oof. Yeah. Apparently, when he went for that event where he saw Ron Dennis, he had to borrow a suit from someone. He didn't even have a suit.
Man, what a story. What a man.
McLaren and Mercedes signed him to their young driver program, and by 2007, Hamilton was driving for McLaren in Formula One. He was almost a world champion for McLaren that year, but he lost out in Brazil. But the next year, he came back, guns a blazing, setting his teammate Alonso aside and became the first ever black world champion.
Wow. In 2013, he made a controversial move to Mercedes. Why are all his moves? But at that
Yep.
time, McLaren was the better team. But some picky people like Ross Brawn and Niki Lauda showed him the potential of being in a team where he could be the number one driver, and Lewis was convinced. 2014 was the hybrid turbo engine, and McLaren was a customer of the Mercedes engine. So Mercedes had a leg up here in development, and with a skilled driver like Lewis, it led to one of the most dominant period enjoyed by a constructor. 8 world titles in a row, and 7 for Lewis.
Mercedes is also where he made strong bonds with team principal Toto Wolff and his engineer Peter Bonington, or Bono. Bono is the person who would get on the radio when Lewis needed that extra push, and he would be the one who says, "Lewis, it's hammer time." We will still hear from Bono now because he is the engineer for young Kimi Antonelli.
I'm excited for the dynamic actually because Kimi is a baby and Bono is used to handling Lewis Hamilton. So let's see. Let's see. Let's see how it goes.
To be fair, when Bono first started, Lewis was not a baby, but
But still, that's actually true. So maybe he's used to handling drivers and just taking them to this growth journey.
it'll be fun to watch that. But yeah, like you said, Lewis's career moves have always been controversial, and now he started his journey in Ferrari. Apparently, it has been his childhood dream, and also he has a long relationship with the team principal Fred Vasseur since his F3 days. So what is Hamilton known for? He is the king of wet weather racing. Senna is credited to have said that rain is a great equalizer. Then it is no longer about the car, but about the driver. And this is so true when it comes to Lewis. When it rains, something switches on in him and he can take an absolute tractor and win. Silverstone last year, it's a good example.
Absolute beauty. And Lewis is aggressive, but I think he's very precise. He always pushes to the limit, but rarely crashes. I have to mention his ex-teammate Nico Rosberg in 2016. These two were like blood brothers. They came up karting together, they celebrated each other's wins. But over time, Nico felt like he should be given a chance to win a title with Mercedes. Lewis felt it was rightfully his. This bitter rivalry, also known as Mercedes, led to many on track crashes to the point where Niki Lauda said that if they crashed into each other, they'd have to pay for damages.
Yep.
And there's also this line, right? Crofty absolutely cooked with this line. He said, "This man knows Lewis Hamilton. Friend, teammate, childhood buddy, rival, everything but a lover, quite frankly."
Yep.
Oof. It hits hard. Uh, but Mercedes and the rivalry left a scar in their friendship for a very long time. But Nico recently admitted that they still talk, and Lewis still sends gifts for Nico's daughter during Christmas.
Oh, I'm glad that they patched things up because that was quite a I've seen like the reels and like certain moments of them in 2016 and from before when they're just so tight, like they're like best. They're blood brothers. You're right. And then that 2016 title, man, that was the reason that entire year, the amount of pressure that Nico was under. At the end of it, he was like, "I am leaving. I cannot do this for one more year."
I feel for them honestly, but I am tired of hearing Channa Mireya reels on Nico and Lewis. Like this is how you know F1 is in India when they make Channa Mireya reels.
This is true. Lewis is also a master of braking. While he holds the record for most pole positions in F1 history, it's 102.
Wow.
What is more impressive is his late and precise braking, allowing him to maximize his speed into corners. The other thing is his tire management. He has a very good feeling for his tires and he's able to make them last longer than most drivers. I know he complains a lot, and we all remember him saying, "Bono, my tires are gone," and then he'll go and win that race. So it's like, I don't believe you anymore, Lewis. Lewis is vegan, just like his bulldog, Roscoe. We also have really cute videos of Roscoe meeting Leclerc's dog, Leo. It's very cute. You'll see Roscoe in Silverstone and some of the European tracks he likes to travel. He's quite a thick boy. For being vegan,
Oh yeah. Like let's not shame the dog. Ferrari social media team, if you listen to this, get Roscoe and Leo on reels.
I know, it was so cute.
Few people know this, but Hamilton has a hidden music career. Not so hidden anymore. So under the alias XNDA, he appeared in Christina Aguilera's 2018 song Pipe. The fans were shocked when he revealed it was him years later, saying he was too shy to take credit at first. I love this Ferrari musical tour. Let's go. We have a musical album waiting to happen.
Yes, apparently he is working on his music. Because
What?
in some interview, somebody asked him, "Oh, what's your favorite song?" And then he said like a name. I think he called it Weightless or something. And like the interviewer asked him, "Oh, who is it by?" And he was like, "Hey, hey, hey. It's his own song."
Oh.
Finally, we have to talk about Lewis's activism. More recently, Lewis has been using his voice to advocate for women in motorsports. He is a regular fixture at the F1 Academy races, supporting Susie Wolff even though he's not a part of Mercedes anymore. He was the one who called out hotels in Saudi that didn't allow female journalists and F1 staff to use their facilities like gyms and pools and things like that. He spoke to one of the journalists and they were like, "Oh no, he like casually asked them, 'So what are you going to do in the evening?' And she just said, 'Yeah, I'm just going to sit in my room because I can't do anything.' And he was immediately like, 'Nope, not happening.'"
I remember this and I love how proactive he was.
He's also started Mission 44, where he helps kids from various backgrounds be part of motorsports. And then, of course, advocating against racism. We saw this through the Black Lives Matter movement, where him, Sebastian Vettel, and some other drivers took the knee before a race. He's also the co-chair for the Met Gala, and he proudly wears and highlights a lot of black designers. Ooh, this one is my favorite. He's also had a lot of tussles with the FIA when they banned jewelry. This man turned up for press conferences after that, wearing 8 watches and chains on chains on chains.
I remember this. What a boss. What a move. Zero fishes given.
Yeah, exactly.
Hamilton also has a strong emotional connection to Brazil, particularly due to his idol Ayrton Senna. So after the dramatic victory at the 2021 Sao Paulo Grand Prix, he waved the Brazilian flag on his cool-down lap, just like Senna did. People were so moved that in 2022 November, Hamilton was officially granted honorary Brazilian citizenship. It's quite interesting because Senna was an honorary British citizen. So now, in a way, Hamilton and Senna have both been adopted by each other's countries. Very
That's so
cute.
sweet.
Yeah. And last year, I think he also had the chance to drive Senna's McLaren in Brazil. It was beautiful to watch. Just the old McLaren car screaming down the curves of Interlagos, the fans shouting, Lewis holding the flag high, and of course, just a smattering of rain. It was so good that Hamilton said he would rather drive that car than his Mercedes, but that says something entirely different, and I'm sure Toto Wolff has many thoughts about that, but just a beautiful sentiment overall.
It was. And I remember there were a couple of Brazilian drivers who were like, "Oh, why didn't we get the chance? Why did we have to go to Lewis? He's not even technically Brazilian." Like very mean girls. Like he doesn't even go here.
Haters.
But exactly. But the thing is, Hamilton has a very close relationship with the Senna family. And apparently Senna's sister wanted it to be Lewis who does that drive. So it's really nice. In fact, I remember one of the races that he had won in Interlagos, they gave him Senna's race worn helmet in like a nice box. And you can see his face, and he's just like,
It means a lot. You can see it means a lot.
it does. I think when he was on that streak, when he was winning pretty much everything, there were a very few things that meant a lot to him. And this was one of those things. And of course, last year when he wasn't winning anything, uh, that Silverstone win meant so much to him.
Especially in the moment where a lot of people are talking about how he's over and his reign has ended and maybe it's time for him to step away. It was just like a perfect answer, right? He's still there. It was a hard fought victory. It was a good weekend for him.
It really was. It was. I loved that. That was a very special moment. Ferrari has been home to many famous drivers and some of the most passionate fans. In the words of Sebastian Vettel, everybody is a Ferrari fan. Even if they're not, they are Ferrari fans. Even if you go to the Mercedes guys, even if they say, "Oh, Mercedes is the best," they are Ferrari fans. Why do I know this by heart? But before we sign off, I need to hear from you, Aswathy. What is your boldest prediction for the 2025 season?
I did put some thought into it. Um, I have three predictions. Okay.
Okay.
The first prediction, I think this year's World Drivers' Championship is going to be won by McLaren.
Okay.
Which driver is questionable? Both Lando and Oscar are on top of the game. So unless this papaya rule, something like that, I think it's fair game for both of them. They have a great car. Both drivers are great. Prediction number two. There's a lot of buzz around Lewis shifting to Ferrari, and everybody expects magic from him. Uh, I still expect him to do very well, get podiums, maybe even race wins, but I think Charles is still going to be the better driver of the two for this year. He knows the car, he knows how Ferrari functions. Lewis is getting used to a whole new world after what 12 years with Mercedes. So maybe 2026.
Yeah, because if you consider McLaren, because McLaren uses Mercedes engines.
Yep. So it's going to be a huge transition for him. So maybe 2026 might be his year. But this year, I don't expect too many changes to the status quo with Charles. Also, my third prediction, prayer, fervent dream is that Carlos Sainz does well with that Williams car. I don't expect podiums, but I expect some top-notch performances. I expect him finishing in points, uh, maybe even surpassing the Alpines or the Haas.
I think so. I agree with all of your predictions, but I want to drive deeper into the Carlos one because we saw them in testing. They look good. And both the drivers are looking good. The lineup is looking good. The car is looking better. So I honestly would not be surprised if it's one of those freak situations and he's on the podium, like Brazil of last year when we suddenly saw Alpine there. But I almost feel like I don't want to say it out loud and jinx it, but I almost feel like he is going to get at least a sprint 1, 2, or 3.
I I hope the same thing, but I've just been super quiet about it. I'm not jinxing anything. I'm not like having too many hopes or expectations, but I do want that for him, just so that people like. It's easy to say he's a good driver when he's in one of the best teams, right? We know that he's a good driver, but to show what he can truly do is with that Williams car. And I think with him and James Vowell, I hope they come up with something super good next year. And I'm just waiting for this year to just move on actually, and see what 2026 brings.
That would be interesting. To our amazing listeners, what do you think? Drop your hot takes in the comments, send us a message, or tag us in your wildest predictions. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share F101 with friends because this community is just getting started. If you have any queries or you want to be a friend on the pod, please reach out to me on Instagram. The link is in the description. Thank you, Aswathy, for your time. I have been your host, Nisha, and I'll see you on the next episode of F101 with Friends.